Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Global News. It's been a while since I've done this live stream. Episode 97. Would have been a lot closer if I hadn't had other things in the way, but there we go, guys. For those who don't know, here on Global News, what we normally do is we cover news from outside the UK, specifically here. I've got 6 different stories to cover, as well as funny memes at the end of the show, just to kind of a bit of a laugh here. But this is being recorded on Tuesday the 13th of January at 3 p.m. UK time. I might switch it to 4 p.m. We'll see how this how it goes in terms of numbers. The reason I've done 1 o'clock live streams on a Tuesday. It doesn't work. I've been doing 6 o'clock for quite a while, so I've decided to kind of move the time slots to 3 o'clock to see how it goes today. I'm actually thinking of switching it all to 4 o'clock instead. I think 4 o'clock seems more reasonable because I need a bit more of a space between now and the last live stream, because it's 12, 3 hours. 3-hour gap is not a lot of time in between, because I was doing quite a lot of things between now and this live stream. And I found myself not getting enough done. Like, I've still got a lot of wrestling content to do. So, yeah, I think I'm probably going to move this live stream to 4 o'clock. Is what I think I will do going forward. But we'll probably go about an hour and a half. We'll see how it goes. Ideally, I'd like to finish at 4:30, if 4:15 if possible. But we'll go see how it goes. Hi, 4 is better, says Doc Davis. Yeah. I think we will definitely do 4 o'clock next week. That does sound a lot better. But Rosemary, Mel, Doc Davis, good to see you guys there. Appreciate anybody coming out this afternoon, then nonetheless though, or just listening in. I do appreciate people here, because I do think, Global News. I don't really have a specific a proper time slot for this live stream, because Tuesdays are one of those awkward days where there's lots of other people live in the evening, and there's certain people I don't want to clash with, so it's kind of trying to find the right place for it. Now, I can't do 8 o'clock. It doesn't work for me. I mean, I have thought about doing it super late, like 9:30, 10 o'clock live stream, but not many people would probably be keen on doing a super late live stream. And I don't think I'd be keen on it myself, but maybe some people might be. Anyways, so I'll just run through the program, what we got for today, guys. Links are in the description as well. We're going to be looking at the live feed from Al Jazeera of the Iranian protests. The headline is "Hundreds of Killed in Horrific Violence," the UN has said there. We're also going to look at a story from Middle Eastern Eye, where the United States may provide up to $2 billion for Israeli tanks, according to a report there. We're also going to be touching on a story from the Associated Press here, where the Pentagon is embracing Musk's Grok AI chatbot as it draws a global outcry. Yeah, so they're going to be going towards, that's... So while the rest of the world is kind of turning away from Grok, America's investing more into it from the looks of it there. I also got a breaking news story from NBC News. It's going to take some more news will come out over the day as it comes in, but the Trump administration is to end temporary protected status for Somalis in the United States. That's a story that's literally only broke the last hour or so. Also going to look at a story that I've got from the BBC on Marine Le Pen, who is hopeful her appeal will allow her to run for the French presidency. So we'll have a look into that as well, because that's very significant in terms of French politics. We'll also look at a story from Africa News, in which the United Nations says doctors in Sudan are doing all that they can to provide support to people there. We've got a video there that we'll look into there. And if we have time, we'll have a look at stories from the Kiev Independent, such as this one here, where a drone factory in Russia, Rostov, Oblast, was struck in an overnight attack, and fire has been reported, according to them there. Followed by funny memes at the end there. So that's what we have on the agenda today. So let's get started, guys. Let's go straight into Al Jazeera here. So at the moment, this is Iran's protest live. Hundreds have been killed in horrific violence, the United Nations have said here. I think before I go any further, I think what I need to do, I think I'll play the video for you guys, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can, let me see if I can just open up the video. I don't want to put it to full screen, but I want to put it to a point where you guys can actually see it. So I do think this is very interesting because they've also, Al Jazeera got to speak to Iran's foreign minister as well, which is also quite fascinating. They've got the full interview, but it's about 14 minutes long. I've watched about half of it. Very interesting to say the least. But let's have a listen from Al Jazeera's reporting, because they are actually allowed to have reporters inside the country. So don't take. I would take more from Al Jazeera than any British or Western media outlet when it comes to what's actually happening inside the country.
Thousands of Iranians took to the streets on Monday to show support for the government. It's unclear how many protesters demanding action over the country's economic collapse have been killed in weeks of unrest. Activist groups based abroad claim the death toll is well into the hundreds. Iran's leadership has blamed the U.S. and Israel for stoking the unrest, which it says has left at least 100 members of the security forces dead. Despite the chaos on the streets, Iran's foreign minister says the situation is now under control. In an exclusive interview with Al Jazeera, Abbas Araghchi says that authorities were forced to cut internet services to stop foreign-backed agitators from coordinating acts of violence.
The
internet network was cut after the terrorist operations began. The internet was not cut before that. We officially acknowledged the protests, and the government was in a state of dialogue with the protesters. Representatives of the protesters were invited to the government, and the Iranian president personally met with them. The internet was cut only after we confronted terrorist operations and realized that orders were coming from outside the country. Some communications were recorded. We have recorded voices of individuals giving orders from abroad to terrorist agents, instructing them to fire at police forces and to fire at demonstrators if police forces were not present. Their intention was to spread killing.
Remember, this is the Iranian foreign minister that you are hearing this from. So I would take what you are saying from him with a massive pinch of salt. This is like many autocratic governments that will say anything here to paint their narrative that they are in the right here, and this is exactly what this is. I would very much not take anything of what he just said there seriously. I don't believe that there is calm from what we are still hearing. I still believe that there are protests here. And do I believe that the CIA and America are making things worse? Yeah, I do. I actually do think that they are playing a part in this to a certain extent as well. Excuse me there. Blah, good to see you there. Hope you are doing well. Furbo, good to see you there. Did you catch the Scottish budget, dude? No, I haven't had a chance. I haven't had a chance to catch up on it. I would wait till Thursday for Dave McGuinness to do. He will cover it on Thursday, and he will break down the Scottish budget, no doubt, on the Two Davies show. He will cover it extensively there for sure. I would wait for him. I'll have a look at bits. I might have a look at bits and pieces on a Good Morning show at some point, but I'll let Dave McGuinness break it down there. Viper, but appreciate the comment nonetheless. Appreciate the comment nonetheless. Viper Scott, good to see you there. Hope you are doing well. And did you see Trump got caught trying to start an independent movement in Greenland? I haven't seen that one, Furbo, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's trying that. It's very hard for them to start anything, because considering all political parties don't want American interference, and it's like trying to basically. I think what they're trying to do is influence Greenland from within, if I'm honest. But I don't really have any more news to updates really from Greenland at the moment, apart from the intimidation that Donald Trump is doing.
Araghchi's comments come just hours after U.S. President Donald Trump said he was considering a strike on Iran. He expressed hope that the current crisis could again be resolved through diplomacy.
We are prepared for any eventuality. And we hope that Washington will choose a wise option. It should be wary of those who seek to manipulate it to achieve their own objectives. It doesn't matter which option they choose. We are ready for it.
I don't think they are. I don't think that they're in a very good spot. They're really in a very difficult spot. I do wonder whether this regime is going to get toppled this year. I wonder, because Israel will be pushing very, very hard for the US to take action, and Israel will want permission from the US to take action as well. to give the protesters everything they need. There have been reports from Iran's side that there were anti-protesters in support of the government as well. I don't know how, I don't know how true that is, but we could only take what reports that we hear. And like I said, I'd be skeptical of taking any reports from Western media about what's actually happening inside Iran, because they will portray it in such a way that they want Iran's government to be toppled.
Arachi described recent events as a continuation of the 12-day war last summer, when Israel and Iran exchanged missile fire and the U.S. bombed nuclear sites. The White House press secretary on Monday reiterated the U.S. president's threat of military action.
Well, I think one thing President Trump is very good at is always keeping all of his options on the table, and airstrikes would be one of the many, many options that are on the table for the commander-in-chief. Diplomacy is always the first option for the president.
In a post on Truth Social, Donald Trump said the U.S. would impose 25% tariffs on any countries doing business with Iran. It has been under heavy sanctions since a nuclear deal with Western powers fell apart. The devastating impact on its economy means there's no end in sight to the years of hardship that forced desperate Iranians out onto the streets.
I definitely think that there is some truth to that, because especially when you're cut off from the world and you don't get as much trade as you would like, you're going to have difficulties for sure there. So here are some of the latest feeds we've got here from Al Jazeera here. Take over your institutions, Trump tells Iranians. This is 10 minutes ago. The US president suggested that he has paused diplomacy with Tehran amid the crackdown on anti-government protests. Iranian patriots keep protesting, take over your institutions, save the name of the killers and abusers, Trump wrote in a social media post. They will pay a big price. I've cancelled all meetings with Iranian officials until the senseless killing of protesters stops. Help is on the way, MIGA. MIGA refers to Make Iran Great Again, a variation of Trump's domestic slogan, Make America Great Again. Oh my God. So many of those people will not... Look, I'm going to just put this out there. Like, a lot of the citizens of Iran, they may be happy with, maybe upset with the current regime, with the current cost of living and the society that they're in. One thing they do not want is they do not want the US. They do not want the support of the United States. They do not want a country, after what they did in Venezuela, to kind of push them around, bully them, and tell them what to do. This is a joke. Make Iran great again. It's just absolutely like I will. You will not see a protester carrying an American flag inside Iran. And if you do, that person is likely to get shot. Like, it's just insane. Absolutely insane. 30 minutes ago, Iran's Tassim said the US closed the agency's English website. The semi-official Iranian news agency Taskim said that its English website under the .com domain has been shut down by US authorities, calling the move terrorism against awareness. This hostile action was taken after Tassim news agency tried to inform the public and observers about the nature of the recent conspiracy against the people with real-time information in recent days, the agency said in a statement. In 2023, the US government imposed sanctions on Taskim, accusing the agency of being controlled by Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps, the IRGC, and contributing to the regime's systematic censorship. Washington has previously used sanctions to block websites affiliated with Iran and its allies in the region. Taskim's English homepage now displays the message that reads that there has been a critical error in this website. Last night, Tassim's.com domain was also briefly down, with the agency also blaming the US for that outage. Iran also calls out EU for double standards over Israel's treatment. Absolutely, this is definitely criticism here. Iran's foreign minister responded to the European Parliament's move to ban Iranian officials by noting that Israel's leader Benjamin Netanyahu freely flies over Europe despite being wanted for war crimes. Yep. He noted that 71,000 Palestinians have been killed in Israel's genocidal war in Gaza. After European Parliament President Roberta Metsola said Iranian diplomats will be barred from buildings in Brussels and Strasbourg over its crackdown. Yeah, it's funny, but obviously when it's and here's the thing. And let me just finish this point. People are not stupid. They see what is unfolding in their eyes. Iran does not seek enemy with the EU. but will reprimand any restrictions, he said. And this ties in obviously with how I feel and what we talked about, what's happening on a consistent basis with Israel's conduct in Gaza and the West Bank, as well as its conduct in Lebanon and in Syria as well. Let's not forget how it's conducting itself there as well. And there's been no accountability whatsoever for them as well. And that's been happening as well. So, and how's the EU treated Israel with open arms, allowing it into its buildings and its influences as still. And Iran hasn't done any of them. I don't trust its regime in any way, shape or form, and none of us should. And I totally get that perspective, but it's like banning one and not banning the other just kind of screams hypocrisy there. Yeah, so I've seen about 10 minutes of this here, but yeah, they've got an 18-minute interview with the Iranian foreign minister. But a lot of it will be bollocks as well, because obviously they have an agenda. They want to paint a picture to the world. The American Israeli Public Affairs Committee courageously protesting against the government. Yeah, so yeah, they've held the anti-government protests in Iran, underscoring the calls for US. Yeah, so this is them basically backing it as well. Netherlands summons Iranian ambassador over protest violence there. Ireland postposes ceremony for new Iranian ambassador. The Republic of Ireland has postponed a formal ceremony to present credentials to the new Iranian ambassador, citing the Iranian authorities' violent crackdown on protests there. That's an analysis piece there. World reacts to Iran's protests. We can look at that in a sec. The latest on US-Iran crisis talks. President Trump said that Iran wants to negotiate with the United States. But he's literally just announced that he's pausing that, didn't he? So what are some of the world leaders actually said? We don't need to see what US have said. We kind of know what they're saying. The Gulf nations is trying to mediate rising tensions and threats of war between the US and Iran. There are expectations that the current tension will lead to an escalation in the region. We are trying to de-escalate the situation, Qatari's foreign minister spokesperson said in a news conference in Doha. We know any escalation which have catastrophic results in the region and beyond, and therefore we want to avoid as much as possible. The added diplomacy is the most effective way to resolve the regional crisis, and we are working with this with our neighbours and partners. We are the party to the contracts aimed at calming the situation in the region and resolving disputes between Washington and Tehran, he said. Qatar are probably the most neutral, I think it's fair to say, the most neutral country in the Middle East when it comes to trying diplomacy there. So they will want to calm tensions. We don't need to read Israel. We don't need to read the UK. EU's Foreign Affairs, Kelly Callas says the 27 members blogs was discussing putting additional sanctions after it signalled its readiness to impose further measures on Monday. Callas told reporters that the EU has sweeping sanctions placed on Iran. We are discussing putting additional sanctions. And yet, where's the sanctions for Israel? UK, along with Germany and France, issued a joint statement last week saying they strongly condemn the killing of protesters. Predicted the date of Iran's Supreme Republic, telling reporters while on a trip to India that when a regime can hold on to power through violence, it is effectively finished. That's Germany there. Spanish government stubborn Iran's ambassador here. Japan foreign minister says the Japanese government strongly calls for immediate cessations of violence and strongly hopes for an early settlement of the situation. That's the more sensible position. Japan neutral, much more sensible position there. China's government has taken a line closer to Iran, expressing its opposition to external interference in other countries' internal affairs. The foreign minister spokesperson adding that sovereignty and security of all nations should be fully protected by international law. Yeah, that's a fairly accurate description there. Russia, obviously, on the side of Iran, they're condemning what's happening, of course. Turkey's foreign minister was previously the country's intelligence chief, said the protests were manipulated by Iran's rivals from abroad, naming Israel's intelligence serving as a hand. Yep, I'm not surprised by those comments. Also doesn't hide. They're calling on the Iranian people to revolt against the regime through their own internet and Twitter accounts, he said. United Nations Secretary said he was shocked at the report by violence against protesters in Iran, calling on the government to show restraint. All Iranians must be able to express their grievances peacefully without fear, he added. The UN High Commission for Human Rights, Volker Turk, said in a statement read out by spokesperson Jeremy Lawrence. When asked about the scale of the killings, the numbers that we hear is hundreds. Al Jazeera has not been able to independently verify that figure. Yeah, we don't, there are reports, we're hearing different conflicting reports. So the government are claiming up to 500 police officers have been killed, which I think is doesn't sound accurate from the Iranian government. But they're considering that Iran has a track record of killing and the way it cracks down on protesters. Do I believe that they've killed innocent protesters? Absolutely. I generally believe that. Do I believe it's a high number? I don't know. If I was to hazard a guess, I would say the number is pretty... I was saying it's hundreds, probably a couple of hundred, I would say they have. I wouldn't say that they've absolutely annihilated them all. But I definitely think there's definitely some truth to there. User, good to see you there. Hope you are doing well. Was hoping you would do a live event for the budget. Not me personally. No, I won't cover the Scottish budget personally. But I would yeah, but I would definitely say in terms of the Scottish budget, wait till Thursday. Wait till Thursday when Dave McGuinness covers it, because he will break it down a lot better than he will break it down for you and for all the Scottish viewers there on Thursday on the two Davies. He will do a great job breaking it down. I'll wait till then. Is there anything else to add to the current protest there? Let me just see if there's anything new. Let's just 38 updates. Can we go all the way? Let me just refresh it, see if we've got any more, if there's anything more that needs to be said here. So it's an infographic, a timeline of since 1979, timeline of a crisis from a hostile crisis to year-long wait and nuclear dispute. Iran struggles to remain pivotal to its identity here. Yes, from 1979, Khomeini returns from exile after 14 years. Iran is declared an Islamic Republic. US imposes its first sanctions on Iran. Yeah, that's when it changes completely. Iraq invades Iran in 1980. 1981, US hostages crisis ends. Israel invades Lebanon in 1982. Iran starts funding the newly formed Hezbollah. Ceasefire begins between Iran and Iraq after US and UN negotiations. Supreme leader dies in 1989. In 1990, 40,000 people died from an awful earthquake. President Bush names Iran as part of the axis of evil. Yep, because they don't trade with them at all as well. Bam, earthquake kills 40,000 people again. The UNSC imposes sanctions on Iran's trade in sensitive nuclear materials and technology. Iranian's ally, Syrian President Bashar al-Assad, brutally represses a popular uprising in 2011. In 2012, Iran's currency plummets, largely due to international sanctions. In 2015, US President Obama and the UK, France, Russia, China, and the EU broker a nuclear deal with Iran. In 2018, President Trump withdraws the US from a nuclear deal. Qasem Soleimani, the leader of the IRGC Quds forces, is assassinated in Iraq in a US drone strike. 2024, Israel bombs Iran's embassy in Damascus. Now, I almost forgot about that story. Iran's president dies in a helicopter crash in May last year. Yeah, that was quite a shock there. Hamas chief Ismail Haniyeh is assassinated in Tehran in July. And then in 2025, Israel and US attack Iran in a 12-day war there. So that's the current timeline. Quite a fascinating timeline for them. Are we going to see a regime change this year? I don't know, but the US are going to be cranking up a lot of pressure, as will Israel there. I don't want personally. I don't want the UK and I don't want Europe to get involved, guys. I honestly don't. But at the same time, like, I don't want innocent people to die, which is what's happening here. But you know, Trump seems to care all of a sudden about Iranian people dying, but he doesn't seem to care about innocent Americans dying at the hands of ICE there. Just wanted to put that out there as well. But we'll try and follow it as closely as we possibly can, here for you guys. Philippo says, look at Libya. Free healthcare, free education, housing funded. As soon as Gaddafi ditched the petrodollar for a gold-based transaction, America demolished him, and the rest is history. Yep. He's in the same playbook with Venezuela and now Iran. Yep, it's all about the petrodollar, as you said. Yeah, and they want control. A part of this is also a lot of this is to do with a lot are speculating this is about Trump's legacy. This is about him creating a legacy for himself, which is why if he gets Greenland, like that will be him cemented in history there, as he's always cemented himself in history by what he did on January the 6th. But he wants to be remembered for other things, overthrowing the Venezuelan, change. Well, he kidnapped the president Morado. I'm so sick of the mainstream media saying they captured him. They didn't capture him. They kidnapped him. They they made a deal with the rest of the Morado government to get him. It would not have gotten him in the way they did if they didn't get an agreement with the rest of Morado's administration to do what they did there. And they would like nothing more than Iran to switch their currency to use, not switch their currency, but to sell oil and all that stuff on the markets for petrodollar. They honestly, like every other country, America doesn't give a crap about the well-being of the Iranian people. They want a regime in there, one that they can control and one that will support their petrodollar. That's what it's all about. It's all about control for them. For Israel, they would rather just see that. For Israel, they want control there as well. It's very fragile times, the globe right now. Incredibly fragile indeed. Another story we got for you guys, it's just a short one, but one definitely really, like the amount of money they investing the United States into Israel is insane. So the US may provide up to $2 billion for Israeli tanks, according to a report. Financing for a new armored vehicle production plant in Israel could come from the US, the documents reveal. I do not know how much money the US invests into Israel's army, never mind its economy, but they get the US gives so much money to Israel. It's absolutely, I'm sure it's like it's very much in, what are we talking, 40, 50 billion? Like, are we talking more than that? Like, how much on average do they give to the Iranian government? It must be insane. But they're giving them everything they need to control the Middle East there. And it's just, we talk about the UK being a poodle to the US. The US are a poodle to Israel. Literally a poodle to Israel. They have so much influence within the whole United States system, the political system. It's insane. Like you can't be a part. Almost the very few politicians are against are pro-Palestine. Very few politicians within the Congress. It's absolutely insane. And you've got here £2 billion going for Israeli tanks. This is at the same time, according to this report as well. And at the same time, you have the Affordable Care Act, which is in shatters. People's health insurance in America is going up right now. You know, the whole America jobs for American people, money should be coming towards America. And then you have this. Like, you show this to Americans right now who are struggling. Tell that to the American farmers out there who are really struggling to go by, and they see that the US are going to provide $2 billion. $2 billion to Israeli tanks. How that would make them feel. Yeah, I don't think they would take it very kindly. So the US may provide up to $2 billion in military aid for Israel to build tanks and armored personnel carriers, the US Army documents have revealed. Documents reported by Israel's Haaretz newspaper on Monday showed that a new armored vehicle plant being built in the country could be financed by its top military aid benefactor. Yeah, because obviously, why pay for it yourself when we can make the US do it for us? If so, it would boost the US annual budget of $3.8 billion to Israel as part of a 10-year agreement. So they provide $3.8 billion to Israel. See, that's a budget. An aid budget to Israel, guys. I don't know about you, but I don't think Israel needs aid. Now, if you want to talk about something that needs aid, it's Palestinian people inside Gaza and the West Bank. How about Sudan? How about aid for them? Oh no, that's something different according to the Americans out there. That's something a little bit different. Over the 5-year period, Israel's Armored Vehicle Acceleration Project plans to increase its armored vehicle inventory, while also increasing production rates of Merkava tanks and armored personnel carriers used by the Israeli military, such as the Neymar and the Eaton, which were both developed in Israel. The Israeli government and ministerial panel for defense procurement approved the project in August during Israel's war in Gaza and Lebanon. It cited 2 U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, the USACE, presentations from October and November, indicating that the U.S. is likely to be involved in financing, planning, and design and construction of the project. The USACE presentation, dating back to October, said it would be involved in the planning, designing, and construction of the Joint System Manufacturing Center for the Armored Vehicle Acceleration Project. Another one from November said, "We are exploring the potential for a multi-billion-dollar Joint System Manufacturing Center (JSMC) project, which could be a pivotal step for the program." The USACE performs technical engineering and construction projects for US allies and international organizations, often funded by American aid. At the time, the project was estimated to cost $1.5 billion, and the Jerusalem Post reported that none of the announcements mentioned any foreign financing. In addition to $3.8 billion annually, the US has also provided $21.7 billion in direct military aid they call it, to Israel in the 2 years after the October 7th, 2023 attacks on southern Israel and the war on Gaza, according to Quincy Institute. This figure does not include the tens of billions of dollars in arms sales agreements committed for weapons and service that will be paid for and delivered in the years ahead, estimated by the Cost of War project at Brown University around $10 billion. Yeah, so it doesn't even include that figure. Therefore, an additional $2 billion in funds may provoke outrage from some of President Donald Trump's supporters who support the American first politics. It's not America first, it's Israel first. Obviously, you guys aren't aware of that. The US Army did not respond to Middle Eastern's request for a comment at the time of publication, but told Haraz that it does not currently have a formal JSMC program with Israel. So any questions on programs and the Israeli Ministry of Defense may be considered should be addressed to them. Yeah. So obviously they obviously don't want to discuss it there. But does it surprise me at all? I mean, $2 million just on tanks alone, coming straight out of the US coffers as well. It's insane. And I know that the Israeli budget economy is not doing well. I think it's been doing well for quite a while, obviously, ever since the war. But they get propped up a lot by the EU and the West. Quite a bit there. There's actually a video of Trump praising the Scottish NHS before he came to power, apparently, out there. I'm not surprised there. Oh, it's a shame if anyone led by donkeys found and used that. Lol. Yeah, I'm sure they would there. I'm sure they would there, indeed. But yeah, the US are still continuing to fund huge amounts of money towards Israel and their military. And they call it aid. Aid, guys. It's aid to them. We know that's not really what it is. Speaking of the United States, this is quite a contrast to what the West is thinking about Grok right now. So, according to the Associated Press, the Pentagon is embracing Musk's Grok AI chatbot as it draws global outcry. So, at a time, guys, where the UK and is obviously considering sanctions against Grok and going as far as potentially closing the app, banning the app from the UK entirely, which many people are in favour of because of its power to create indecent images of women and girls and children because of the of what it does. Although they have changed the settings where it has to be paid people to do it, it still doesn't mean that people. It still means that people are able to do it. People are still able to make those horrible images, and it still doesn't safe. It's still not safe. It still doesn't have safeguards out there. And if there was safeguards out there, it'd be a very different. It'd be a very different story here, but it's not. So, and you have here, obviously, the United States very much in favor of Musk. And it's quite a contrast here because Musk obviously had a falling out with the Trump administration, didn't he? He was part of the whole Doge operation, and then obviously that kind of just faded away. But it seems like the US are now, it seems like the Trump administration and Musk apparently are back on good terms all of a sudden here. It looks like they're going to be drawing up contracts to support Musk's Grok AI chatbot here. So let's have a read into it. So the Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said on Monday that Elon Musk's artificial intelligence chatbot Grok will join Google Regenerative AI engine in operating inside the Pentagon network as part of a broader push to feed as much of the military data as possible into the developing technology. That sounds very dangerous. You're going to allow a chatbot inside the Pentagon's network. That's very scary indeed. How would they sanction Grok? They wouldn't sanction Grok. I would Mitchell Fulf on Twitch. I think what it would do was the sanctions would be towards X, because at the end of the day, it's on that platform there. Like, I know I keep seeing the story that Malaysia have banned Grok, and I didn't get an answer when I looked up the story of like, well, have they banned X? No. Well, I was like, well, how do you ban Grok and not ban X from the country? I don't get that. So I'm not quite sure how that would work. It says very soon we will have the world's leading AI models on every unclassified and classified network throughout our department. Hegseth said in the speech at Musk's space flight company SpaceX in South Texas. The announcement comes just days after Grok, which is embedded into X, the social media network owned by Musk, drew global outcry and scrutiny for generating highly sexually deepfake images of people without their consent. Malaysia and Indonesia have blocked Grok. See, this is what they say. They say they've blocked Grok, but they haven't blocked X. So, again, I don't like, how do you do that? Like, I don't have an answer to that. While the UK's independent online safety watchdog announced it will investigate on Monday, well, it's going to find out by the end of the... They said that by the end of the week, I think we're going to have more by the end of the week on it. Grok has limited image generation and edited to paying users now. But there's a separate Grok app, I believe. Yes, there is the app, of course. Yes, I think you might have just hit the nail on the head there, Mitch Forth. Yes, because there is the app for it as well. So that might be the way they do it. Hegseth says, but the UK are looking at banning X altogether rather than going after Grok from the sounds of it. Hegseth said Grok will go live inside the Defense Department later this month and announced that he would make all appropriate data from the military's IT systems available for IT exploration. He also said data from intelligence database would feed into AI systems. Could you imagine? Just imagine this, right? See, this is what they're going to do, right? They're going to allow Grok, an AI software, right, inside the Pentagon's sensitive information and all that kind of stuff, right? Can you imagine if someone was to program it to share that information with some of its adversaries? It seems that that. Do you imagine how bad that would be? That's so insane. Like, that's so insane. Make all appropriate data. So it says appropriate data. What about sensitive data? It also says data from intelligence database will be fed into AI systems. Like, for me, like, I would not share sensitive information with the AI chatbot on the basis it could get compromised. I would not want to put that information anywhere near it. I think that's really dangerous. Hegseth's aggressive push to embrace the still developing technology stands in contrast to the Biden administration, which, while pushing federal agencies to come up with policies and uses for AI, was also wary of misuse. Officials said rules were needed to ensure that the technology, which could be harnessed for mass surveillance, cyber attacks, and even lethal autonomous devices, be used responsibly. And this is the thing. Like, they're already saying, let's just put Grok straight into the Pentagon system. What could possibly go wrong, guys? Yeah, let's allow Grok to have sensitive information. What could possibly go wrong from one of the most powerful nations on the planet with some of the most invaluable sensitive information that it has? What could possibly go wrong if we let an AI chatbot have information like that? What could go wrong, guys? I'll tell you what will happen, right? I guarantee you this. Elon Musk will have a sniff of all that information, one way or another. He will have a sniff of this information, even though he shouldn't have anywhere near it. And the thing is that if whatever happens with the elections, right? Let's say hypothetically, right? The Democrats win the midterms and they win the next presidential election. Democrats come into power, right? What the hell do they do about this situation when they come in? If they come back in? What on earth are they supposed to do about this situation? That's the thing that screams at me. I'm thinking, like, you've got an AI bot that's controlled by a private organization inside the Pentagon. Like, I would not want an artificial intelligence being controlled by a private company being inside the Pentagon, especially in its most sensitive data. I think it's so dangerous. I really do. The Biden administration enacted a framework in late 2024 that directed national security agencies to expand their use of the most advanced AI systems, but prohibited certain uses, such as applications that would violate constitutional protected civil rights or any systems that would automate the deployment of nuclear weapons. It is unclear if these provisions are still in place under the Trump administration, so we don't even know that. During his speech, Hegseth spoke of the needs to streamline and speed up technological innovations within the military, saying we need innovation to come from everywhere and evolve with the speed and purpose. He noted that the Pentagon possesses combat-proven operational data from 2 decades of military and intelligence operations. AI is only as good as the data it receives, and we're going to make sure that it is there, Hegseth said. The Defense Secretary said he wants AI systems within the Pentagon to be responsible, though he went on to say that he was shrugging off any AI models that won't allow you to fight wars. Hegseth said that his vision for military AI systems means that they operate without ideological constraints that limit all full military applications, before adding that the Pentagon AI will not be woke. You gotta be joking me. Elon will probably blackmail the government since Trump hates him. That would be insane if he did that. I don't know. That would be absolutely insane if they did that. It's not outside the realms of impossibility that could happen. That could seriously screw the government over. You have to remember this Trump administration is incredibly stupid. So that's definitely a good point there, Mitchell Ford. And you guys on YouTube are talking about something else there. Hi, Sarah Davis. Good to see you there. I hope you're doing well. Yeah, you guys talking about something else there. Musk developed and pitched Grok as an alternative to what he called woke AI interactions from rival chatbots like Google, Gemini, or Open AI, or ChatGPT in July. Grok also caused controversy or appears to make anti-Semitic comments that praised Adolf Hitler and shared several anti-Semitic posts. The Pentagon did not immediately respond to questions about the issues with Grok. Yeah, because they were told not to talk about it. But yeah, this is it feels like a bit of a rushed thing to me. I think it's very, very dangerous to be rushing into something like that. I think the Biden administration were right to be slow when it comes to sensitive information, and I feel like this Trump administration is going to blow themselves up with what we're going to be doing there. The very possibility of Elon Musk blackmailing the American government because of information that they get their hands on, that's insane. And the thing is, Putin and Russia will offer anything for Elon Musk. They will offer him anything to get that information out of the Pentagon. They will say to Elon Musk, we'll give you anything you want for that information, which will seriously harm not just America, but the globe, because they have information that can seriously harm some of the most powerful nations on the planet, including us. There. Speaking of people at risk, the Trump administration is taking, as if we had the Minneapolis shooting last week. There have been some serious violent incidences taking involved with ICE, and Somalis in the United States. Their lives are about to get a hell of a lot worse here, guys. So this is a story still in current development, just for reference here. The Trump administration is to end temporary protected status for Somalis in the United States. Somali immigrants in the US with TPS must leave the country by March the 17th, she said. They've got till March the 17th to get out of the country, or ICE will round them up and throw them out. Or ideally, or what they'll probably do is throw them in prison. I mean, talk about being nasty here. The Trump administration is ending temporary protected status for Somali immigrants. The White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt confirmed in a Tuesday post to X. Somali immigrants in the US with TPS must leave the country by March the 17th, she said. The United States provided temporary protected status to immigrants from certain countries that are impacted by safety conditions such as natural and man-made disasters. President Donald Trump has repeatedly disintegrated Somali immigrants in recent weeks, having accused them of destroying the country and said that the Somalians should be out of here. Based on what have they destroyed the country? Can you give me some examples, Mr. President, of Somalis destroying them there? No, you haven't. Did you see the video on ICE in the USA I sent you on Discord? No, I didn't see that video. I know you sent me an interview video from PodSafe America. I wasn't going to be able to give time to watch that. But unless you sent it another time, I haven't seen that. The Trump administration has also targeted Somalis in Minnesota, in particular after a new focus on a fraud scandal in which many accused of wrongdoing were citizens of Somali descent. And by the way, there's fraud in every. There's always going to be some fraud, but because there was just I think it's like 1 or 2 cases of Somalis, they've now brandished every Somali fraudulent now. NBC News has reached out to the Department of Homeland Security for comment. Excuse me. Fox News was first to report the development. In a statement to Fox News, the Department of Homeland Security and Wicked Witch of the West, Christy Nome, said temporarily means temporarily. That's the one. Yeah, I wasn't going to give 20 minutes to it, unfortunately, but I appreciate the video. But yeah, I wasn't going to give 20 minutes to it. I know PodSafe America do great stuff. I'm not really, I don't really watch their content. I watch more from Vosh's perspective on America more than anyone now. I used to watch from Brian Tyler Cohen, but I don't watch as much as he says I used to there. No conservatives talk about Renee Good and at all. They're milking the fraud controversy in Minnesota. They are. I mean, we covered it here last week on Wednesday night. What happened, and I expressed very much anger and frustration over it. You know, an innocent person who was in the wrong place at the wrong time, sadly, and lost their life. She didn't do anything wrong. She was an innocent woman, and you know, I don't even think she was part of the protest as far as I was concerned. I think she was just passing through, and she just got caught in it all. What that man did was absolutely disgusting, and the footage is there very clearly to see. Now, there was I actually watched there was a debate between Crystal and Saga on Breaking Points on their YouTube channel about it when it all came out, and Saga was making the point that, yeah, while the evidence is very, very clear, you still needs to be done in the court of law, and I absolutely agree, it needs to be done in the court of law, but the evidence is very overwhelmingly strong there. Not to mention all the witnesses who saw it as well. There were lots of people there, were witnesses as well, that saw what happened as well. Country conditions in Somalia have improved to the point that it no longer meets the law's requirements for temporary protected status. She said in a statement on Fox News. On what exactly has happened in Somalia that has changed the position to make it more safer? What has changed in Somalia? What has changed in Somalia? Like, I honestly, I'm being honest here. What has happened in Somalia that I've seen that you can tell me that Somalia has become a safer country for people? As far as I'm concerned, it's not safe still. He also quotes, further allowing Somali nationals to remain temporarily in the United States is contrary to our national interests. We are putting America first. The United States first recognized people from Somalia as being eligible for temporary protected status in 1991. At a rally in December, Trump referred to Somalia and several other nations as hellholes and complained that we always take people from Somalia, places that are a disaster. Filthy, dirty, disgusting, rotten with crime, he said at the time. The only thing they're good at is going after ships, he said. Yeah, so this is this filthy, disgusting, rotten with crime country, which apparently has improved its conditions, means that we can send those Somalis back there. This is what the Trump administration are literally saying to you all. They're saying, yep, they're filthy, disgusting, a ridden crime country that is Somalia has improved its conditions so much that we can send Somalis back to its country. We don't need any Somalis here. This is literally what they are saying here. Outrageous, just outrageous. The comments, like, it's just so sickening indeed. There, it's absolutely sickening. Oh dear. I said before the election, I said before the new year, like, literally, like, get out. If you are not American, get out of the country. I did warn people, you know, the warning, everyone was being told, like, saying it's not going to happen to you. It was going to happen to you. It was going to happen to you. Right, guys, we're going to switch gears to some other stories taking place, but just want to remind you guys, if you haven't already, please consider hitting the like button, share this across social media, and subscribe if you haven't already. Do check out other links down below as well if you want to as well, such as you can also buy me a coffee or join Patreon as well. All that stuff really does help support the channel if you guys want to do that as well. I also had videos dropping today on both Rumble and on Patreon for free. So if you guys want to check them out, links for both of them are down below as well. There's also paid Patreon content that people get as well if you are a paid member, just for reference there. And we also have a free Discord community that you can join us on as well. But a reminder as well that my next live stream after this one will be tomorrow at 11 a.m. for reference here. Right, so the next story I've got for you guys is one from the BBC News. And I'm glad I found this story because it's been a while since we talked about French politics, or in particular Marine Le Pen. So she's hopeful the appeal will allow her to run for president. So a high-stakes appeal by the far-right French politician Marine Le Pen has begun in Paris against a ruling that banned her from running for public office for 5 years. So the appeal is starting today, or starting yesterday, I believe it is. And it's going to be pretty much high stakes there on this. Like, so if her appeal goes through, she could run for French president. I generally believe that I think she's still popular. I don't know what the polls have been saying about Marine Le Pen lately. But obviously she's kind of like, obviously I don't pay much attention to French politics. It's been a while since I paid a lot of attention to French politics here. But obviously since this conviction was put on her, it's putting quite a damp squid on people on the far right in France. But I think that if she was to overcome this appeal, if this appeal was proven to be successful, she'll be a shoehorn in to be the next French president. Indeed. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this appeal goes, guys. So Le Pen, 57, was found guilty last year of embezzling EU funds. And if the ban is upheld, she will not be able to stand in the 2027 presidential election. Ahead of her arrival in court, she said hopeful about the outcome. On Monday, the president of the National Rally Party, Jordan Bardella, said barring her from the election would be deeply worrying for democracy. So apparently it's deeply worrying for democracy, guys, despite the fact she's been found guilty of embezzling EU funds. Right. Okay, you make that stick, guys. You make that stick for me in the chat. Bardella said he would not stand for president, but would instead seek the lower rank post of Prime Minister. The case at this Paris Court of Appeal will last until the 12th of February, but ruling is not expected before the summer, well ahead of next year's presidential vote. So, if the appeal goes in her favour, she'll have time to run, basically. Last year's case centred on the charges that Le Pen, along with more than 20 other senior party figures, hired assistants who worked for RM party affairs, rather than for European parliaments which pay them. The judge said Le Pen had been at the heart of the system that saw the embezzlement of 2.9 million euros, that's worth of European funds. Le Pen was given a 4-year prison sentence, with 2 years suspended, and the remaining two to be served with an electronic tag rather than in custody. She was handed a 100,000 euro fine and banned from seeking public office with immediate effect. More than 20 RN figures were also found guilty in last year's trial, and the party was ordered to pay a €2 million fine, with half the amount suspended. 11 of Le Pen's colleagues are taking part in the Paris appeal, but 12 have decided not to challenge the original verdicts, including her sister Yang Le Pen, who was given a one-year suspended prison term. So some have decided not to take the risk here, because this is a big risk. Because if she fails this, she's out. With Le Pen standing, the presiding judge started the hearing by reading the charges in last year's verdict. The RN leader then returned to her seat in the company of some other co-defendants and her lawyers. Under the French legal system, an appeals court reviews the decision of the lower first sitting court in its entirety, including facts as well as points of law. Le Pen will be hoping the Paris appeal courts overturn last year's verdict and clears her name and path to run for the highest office in France for the fourth time. A second possible outcome would be for the appeals panel to affirm the guilty verdict, but remove the immediate effect clause. This will enable her to run even if she decides to appeal to the country's highest court, the Court of Castilian, to overturn the guilty verdict. A third outcome would see the appeals judge curtail the 5-year ban sufficiently to enable Le Pen to register by the end of March 2027 deadline. And a fourth would be to leave the lower court's decision intact. This would make it next to impossible to run, even though she would still be expected to take the case to the Court of Castilian. So she's still going to fight this. The fifth would be definitely rule Le Pen out of the race, which would be the original conviction would be upheld and the sentence to be stifled. After all, the offence may be punishable for up to 10 years in jail. With the presidential election expected to be held around April 2027, much will depend on the substance as well as the timing of the judgment. The far-right leader has twice made it to the runoff stages, and many of her supporters think she has a chance of winning if she's cleared to run next year. However, an opinion poll published by Le Monde newspaper on the eve of the appeal suggested her protege Bardella may have a better chance of winning, of 49% against 18% for Le Pen. Interesting. I don't know, guys. This is a massive risk for her. This is a massive risk for her. But at the same time, I think if she was to win her case, it would galvanize her. It would galvanize the party. It would galvanize her followers. It would galvanize a lot of the French public against Macron and his party. His party already are not on the good terms with the French public as well. I think, if she was to overturn this, she could end up winning the presidency. But obviously, as it says there, it depends on how long the timing of the judgment as well, because there's a timing in all of this as well. That's an interesting point as well. Personally, I hope she doesn't overturn it, because she's already been found guilty of embezzling. Because it's the fact that she's broken the law says a lot about you can't trust her to be president of France, let alone be in politics. But it's not safe, but Moscow is slightly safer because of more checkpoints, says Mitchell Fort there. Have to wait and see how that goes. Well, I'll try and keep an eye on Le Pen's case. I mean, the news will pop up every now and then on how the proceedings continue as time passes on there. Why have I not got a feed of this one? Excuse me, 1 second. Just checking I've not got a feed of that one. Okay, we can use that. Okay, so I'm not going to read this one. I'll play the video for this one. This one is from African News here. Obviously, we have the crisis in Sudan that is still continuing, the civil war, with millions and millions of people being displaced, of course. Billions of lives have been lost within the reported genocidal acts that have been done by the rapid support forces, especially around the capital Khartoum. But this story is in particular about doctors in Sudan who are trying to do absolutely everything and anything in their power to help people. sorry about that, as best as they possibly can in the most difficult of situations. And it is a country that is in serious need of support and aid, and it really is not getting that here. So this is the video on the United Nations, which is saying that doctors in Sudan are doing all they can to provide support to people out there. And I really do commend doctors working out in this country, those who are there, because it must be both a difficult and terrifying situation at the same time, considering the circumstances that they are under here.
Amid the wind and heat, doctors like Ikhlas Ahmed Abdallah Adam are doing everything they can to help people in Sudan's northern state. The United Nations says this includes going so far as to donate their own blood at its emergency obstetric and reproductive health services. Ikhlas says she worked at the Saudi hospital in Al Fasher, hit by the paramilitary rapid support forces during its takeover of the city. The situation was extremely difficult. I wished I could stay at the hospital and not return home, because the journey from the hospital to my house was itself a serious risk. If you tried to go back through the streets, you could be hit by a shell. Many of my colleagues were killed that way. I was there myself. A whole team was killed in the ER of the Saudi hospital. The equipment was insufficient. We worked using bed sheets. We cut up bed sheets for bandages. We worked with mosquito nets, cutting them up as well. Truly, we did everything we could. We were performing procedures outside the operating room, surgeries done right out in the open.
That's insane. But when it comes to desperate times and desperate measures, you can do everything you can to try and save people's lives there. And yeah, that must have been extremely difficult for them.
Mother Farha Ahmed is one of an estimated 14 million people that have been displaced by the war between the Rapid Support Forces and the army, which erupted nearly 3 years ago. After reaching Milit, I sat in the intense heat. I had nothing to eat or anything else. We didn't even have a change of clothes, and I had nothing for the children to eat. Thank God I found Dr. Ikhlas. She came to me and asked, "What's wrong, my sister? Don't you have a place to stay?" I told her everything, that I had truly nothing. Aid agencies say Sudan is the largest humanitarian crisis ever recorded. The UN estimates that nearly 34 million Sudanese will need aid this year, with more than 20 million requiring health assistance and 21 million facing acute food insecurity.
31 million. 31 million. Just think about that number, guys. That's just such an insane number to think about. You know, such a massive population of people. 31 million are going to need aid. It's just incomprehensible of just how bad the crisis is in that country, and yet not enough is being done by the West, by the international community. I truly do mean this. I truly believe the United Nations is doing absolutely everything in its power to try and help Sudan as best as it possibly can. I truly believe that. I really do think them and aid organizations are trying everything they can to help the people of Sudan in this situation. I really do believe that, but they need more help from the international community. They need far more help from the international community. And this year we're seeing reductions in foreign aid from Western nations, from the UK, from France, from other Western nations, as well as the United States. And at the worst possible time for not just Sudan, but for other countries who are in crisis right now. The worst possible time. My heart really does go out to the work that aid organizations, charities, communities, the United Nations are doing in these difficult and impossible situations. Because they're facing more barriers than ever before. And we're having more and more conflicts taking place where the lack of international law and the laws and accountability of, you know, the rules of engagement and whatnot is now being blurred more than ever. Israel kind of broke that blurriness a lot more than any other country because of its continuously breaching of international law. And other countries have been able to say, well, if they can do it, why can't we? Israel kind of set the tone. And I really do, like, I wish more would be done for these people, because the fact there's so many people So many Sudanese did not choose this kind of life. They did not choose to have this kind of life in any way, shape, or form. Many of them are not interested in taking sides. Many of them just want to be able to go back to their home and live their lives, and they simply cannot do that. It's a heartbreaking story, guys. But what's happening in Sudan, I've been covering it, the conflict since 2023, since early on when I started this channel, and it's been continuing ever since. And it's one nation that just does not get talked about enough. Does not get talked about whatsoever by the Western media, mainstream media enough. And it's so infuriating. There's almost every couple of days I've got a short story reporting on what the UN are talking about in Sudan. And the reason why I do is because this is one of the biggest international crises right now in the globe. And there's a lack of response here from the international community to do more for it. So before we head to the funny memes to see ourselves out, we're going to have a look at the Kiev Independent, guys. We're going to have a look at several news feeds from the website. So for those who don't know, the Kiev Independent is a website they use to look at what's been happening in terms of the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. And they obviously give it from a Ukraine's perspective here. I do find the information to be very, very useful. But we're going to look at multiple stories here, not just the one that I've got covered here, the main one. But we'll have a look and see what they've got to share with us here, guys. So one of the first stories here is that the drone factory in Russia, in Rostov Oblast, was struck in an overnight attack. Fire has been reported. So Ukraine are still one of the key things in this conflict, in the battle that they are doing here. Ukraine are using a lot of drones. We know that they've been getting help from Western allies, and they do have some drone factories in parts of Western Ukraine where they have drone factories that they've been built over the last few years to help being able to use to attack and strike into the heart of Russia. We know that they've hit in various parts. They've been mainly targeting oil refineries because that's where they get hurt the most, Russia, when it comes to their that's where the main machine for their war is coming from, is from the oil refineries. So targeting and taking them out is definitely one of the big things that has been helping them in terms of the drone strikes from Ukraine's perspective. However, they still are losing territory on a daily basis. Every so often kilometers, they're giving up ground to Russia, but more than 1 million. I think it's like 1.5 million Russian soldiers have lost their lives. We also know that North Korean soldiers have lost their lives in support because of the deployment that Kim Jong-un has sent North Korean soldiers to fight on behalf of Russia as well. I don't know if any other nations have sent soldiers, but I am aware that mercenaries from both sides have been used as well to help enable both sides in the war as well. There was one report a while ago about Chinese mercenaries, but I don't know about how reliable that source is. So, unidentified drone struck the Russian city of Targov early today, with reports indicating that a drone manufacturing facility was targeted, according to Russian Telegram channels. So, of course, Russia has its own drone manufacturing facilities, but they've also been getting a lot of drones from Iran as well. Monitoring groups identified the target facility in Alec area, a company that produces components for combat drones, control systems, and electronic warfare equipment. Local channels claimed that air defense systems were engaging aerial targets, while videos circulating showed a fire at the site. Rostov Oblast Governor Yuri Sarkya later confirmed the attack in Tangarod without specifying the facility involved. Quote, he said, air defense systems are currently repelling an attack on Taiwan, he wrote. No information about civilian casualties have been received. Data on the ground damaging has been clarified. One of the things that Ukraine does tend to do with its strikes into Russia is they tend to avoid Russian citizens as much as possible. They try to avoid Russian citizens, whereas Russia always tried to target Ukrainian citizens inside Ukrainians' territory. Additional footage shows the aftermath of the strike continues to emerge later in the morning as authorities assess the damage. Rostov Oblast, located along the Russian-Ukraine border in the adjacent Russian-occupied Luhansk and Donetsk Oblast, is frequently targeted by Ukrainian strikes due to its proximity to the front line there. Let's have a refresh and just see if there's what other stories is here. So top of the feed, the Parliament fails to appoint an energy minister, vacancy left open for months as the energy crisis deepens. So they don't have an energy minister according for this Ukrainian government. That's very concerning indeed, considering the situation with regards to energy right now. The live feed says Belgorod governor warns of possible evacuation as Russia border region reels from power outages there. I also got a latest update from Russia is trying to disconnect Kiev supermarkets, public transport struggle, yet after more strikes on energy infrastructure here. Says here around 70% of Kiev is without electricity yet, and after yet another Russian mass strike overnight, last night. A state Ukrainio, a state grid operator, saying Moscow forces aim to disconnect the city. Already facing chronic power shortages and freezing temperatures forecast to plunge as low as -22 in the coming days. The latest attack comes just 4 days after the last mass assault on civilian infrastructure. Ballistic missile explosions rocked Ukraine's capital at around 1:10 a.m. local time on January, according to the Kiev Independent journalists. On the ground, additional explosions were also heard around 8:30 this morning. The Kiev suburbs of Bucha, Hotomel, and Irpin were reportedly left without power and running water following Russian strikes. Emergency power outages have also largely been implemented in Kiev and parts of Kiev Oblast, as that has also been reported. Quote, the Russians are trying to disconnect the city and force people to move outside Kiev. Vladimir Zizkio, the Ukrainian CEO, and told the Kiev Independent, saying the number of substations have been hit overnight and 70% of Kiev is without electricity. That's really bad. We have information that Russia is ready to start the next wave of attacks with cruise missiles, he added. So it seems to be on a daily basis there. Ukraine's largest energy company said the thermal nuclear plant was attacked again with equipment and the facility damaged as a result of the strikes. The company noted this was its 8th attack on its thermal nuclear plant since October last year there. Let's see what else they've got here, just out of curiosity. A series of loud explosions. Ukraine destroys key Russian drone factory in Tarkov. Yeah, we just saw that story. US imposed 25% tariff on countries that do business with Iran as anti-government protests continue. Drone factory in Rostov Oblast struck overnight. Yep. Novopolska's terminal and children's medical facility damaged as Russia attack kills 4 and injures 6 in Kharkov outskirts. Russian forces carried out a combined missile and drone attack on the outskirts of Kharkov, killing at least 4 people and injuring 6 others, regional authorities reported today. The governor there said the wounded sustained injuries of various severity. According to Kharkov's regional prosecutor's office, one of the buildings that was severely damaged was a Novopolska terminal, where emergency responders were extinguishing fires, clearing debris and evacuating the injured, including what appears to be a terminal employee. Novopolska is Ukraine's largest private delivery company. During a separate attack, a Shalar drone struck a children's medical facility within Kharkov city, sparking a fire, authorities have said. Preliminary information indicates that the strike began with a missile, followed by drone attacks. Emergency services continue to work at the scene as authorities are still investigating the circumstances and consequences of the attack. The consequences are they don't give a shit. That's the simple answer to that one there. What else is there? Republican Congressman introduced Greenland annexation bill amid White House threats. A Greenland annexation bill. That's yesterday. Is that all the stories they've got for today? It looks like it. Trump wants Venezuela's oil. Market may not care. Those are stories from yesterday there. Interesting. 26 power stations hit this year within hours of repair started, says Mel. Yeah, that's one thing, obviously, that the Russia wants to do is obviously damage the energy infrastructure of Ukraine. In particular, Kiev, that's always been their plan there, to try and target that infrastructure, for sure. They want to target that. That's definitely something they've been trying to do, for sure, there. Just 1 second here. Just making sure that's working. Okay, guys, we're coming near to the end of the show here. But before we head out, guys, there's something that we always do on this live stream in particular. We do something called the funny memes, where we have 5 funny memes for you guys. Just kind of like something, just kind of like break the ice, maybe have a little bit of a laughter here. We kind of need that, considering global news is more depressing than other news when I cover on this live stream in particular. So hopefully you guys will get a bit of laugh out of these here. But these are the 5 funny memes I've got for you guys here. So I hope you guys get a laugh out of these. So here we go. What's a good age to have kids? Financially stable years old. Feels like a dad joke, but it's unfortunately really, really true. I've got a problem. No, we have a problem. We're a couple, a unit, a team. Your problem is my problem. We're in this together. Okay, we got your sister pregnant. Right. This guy is is in big trouble, is all I can say. Yeah, that did not work out well for you. It was at this moment Louise realized why Rob brought him lunch every day for the past 2 years. Well, let me just put it this way. He's a big officer, and sometimes they could be extremely useful in the line of fire, guys. I think that's fair to say there. In the line of fire. Me trying to eat as much as possible before attempting to lose weight for my New Year's resolution. Oh, I've already passed it. Oh well, I guess I'll just finish eating the rest of this then. You can try. You can try. You can try. And then finally, motivational speaker. There's a lion in everybody. The lion in me. That's not a very confident lion. If I'm honest, guys, I don't know what the hell that is, because that is certainly not a lion. I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's a dog. It looks very weird. That is for sure. But apparently there's a lion in all of us, guys. I don't know about you, but I'm not very confident in that lion, that's for sure. Yeah, I'm not confident in that lion whatsoever. No, indeed, guys. So, guys, I want to say a massive thank you to everyone who came along this afternoon. Thank you, guys, for all your comments. I appreciate people coming out. We had as many as, I think, 12 viewers, as many points. This has always been one of the quiet live streams. But, yes, I think I'm going to move this live stream to 4 o'clock from next week, guys. I thought 3 o'clock wasn't enough time for me. So, yeah, I'm definitely going to switch it to 4 o'clock. But thank you guys for all you coming. Thank you guys for all your comments. I appreciate people coming by. There's plenty of live streams on tonight. I'm sure there'll be Geoscopes with Graham Hughes and Bella Hatman. I don't know if Witchigoff's going live at 6 o'clock. She has been going live at 6 o'clock most days. Nax Robsby will probably be going live at 8:30 tonight as well. There'll be plenty of other live streamers on as well, guys. So there'll be plenty of people to check out tonight on YouTube if you guys are looking for more live streams. But I will be back live tomorrow at 11 o'clock with the Good Morning Show, followed by Prime Minister's Questions. And then after that, those two shows, we will have the watch along at 8 o'clock in the evening. And then tomorrow evening, we will have the round table with myself, Daily Blase, Graham Price, Power to the People, and Dave McGuinness. If you can join us for that show, it would be greatly appreciated, guys. So thank you guys all for watching. But just before you go, if you can for me, please hit that like button, share this across social media, consider subscribing to the channel as well. Check out, as like I said, all the links down below as well. If you want to financially support me, you can buy me a coffee or join the Patreon, one of those two options as well. Be greatly appreciated as well. Any of that stuff all does help support me. So thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.